Hey, what you doing, dude? Hey, Gordon. I've been following that guy. He's been following me from Grand Junction. And he just got around me like he was pulling something off. Well, I'm going to hang back for a little while and see what his deal is. We're looking east to the, I guess, the San Juans. We're going to do this, buddy. There. Huh. Yeah, he caught that. He gave me a thumbs up. Oh, there we go. Good, I scrubbed him. My little competitive cowboy, old guy. He had a cowboy hat on. So I can't really dislike the guy too much. All I can say is that he was feeling his oats and came around me, daring me to do the same. And I took up the gauntlet. And I went around him and bested him in battle. That's how I remember it. Well, road work the next 17 miles. Well, I just hope we don't have to sit in traffic. That would be dirty, rotten pool for CDOT to do that. To have one road shut down completely and then go on the only other road that you can get access to Gunnison, at least from the Uncompahgre River Valley, Montrose, Grand Junction. And also, yeah, that would be really quite annoying. Oh, nice. For the moment, we have the road to ourselves. Man, that lake is really looking good. You can't see the extent of it, but it's a big lake. Well, you might be able to. No lack of water in Colorado this year. Very nice. It's so nice that there's water here. Everything looks so much better. And Colorado is, at least the western side, is a relatively arid state. It was an interesting drive down 50 from Grand Junction. I'm typically used to traffic. If I pass someone, they're passed. They don't speed up and catch me. But that wasn't what I was noticing. I passed this little white car. Girl was driving it. I noticed these things. And she followed a little bit, but then fell back, which is relatively typical. But after a while, she started speeding up, and she ended up passing me. I also passed another girl in the car. I noticed these things. She was a black girl. I noticed that. Does that make me a white supremacist because I notice what other people are and things like that? Well, yes, of course, that does to the woke left. But to everyone else, that just makes me a person who's paying attention. Anyway, so I passed her, and she sped up pretty much immediately and paced me. And I sped up a little bit more, and so she sped up, and I thought, okay, fine. If she wants to race, I'll let her win. I don't care. So I just maintained the speed I was going, and she passed me, and then the other girl passed me. So to me, that was really odd to be passed by two girls like that. Then getting into Delta, the last girl that passed me, I passed her again. And when I passed her, I looked over and she was muttering and looking at me like, you bastard, probably calling me a white supremacist. I don't know. But then I ended up passing the other girl who had also slowed down, and I passed her in downtown Delta. So that's really unusual. Typically, I'm used to getting past, and I pass somebody, and that's it. It's pretty rare that someone will catch up with me like that. And the first girl, it was strange because it was a delayed reaction. The second girl was more kind of the road rage kind of thing, like, how dare you pass me, I'm going to pass you back. Which I see that happen from time to time. I didn't mind and become competitive and turn it into a stupid road rage fight. You've seen that on the road, right? Two cars hauling ass down the road, for no reason. That's probably what that is. One car passed another car. The other car was butthurt. They passed back or tried to pass back. The original car then was either challenged or butthurt, and so the race is on. Or, the popular term for that is road rage. And maybe it is. The rage of the road. I decided to make my own windshield washer fluid for the summer because there are so many insects out here, and filming like I'm doing, I run my wipers all the time because there are just so dang many bugs out here. So far, a very interesting drive today. The incidents that I'm having are not the typical incidents that I would typically plan for, that I would have. Usually, if I pass a female, I pass her. But that's up in northern Colorado, where the roads aren't nearly as nice as this. So, and for that matter, it doesn't matter who I pass. typically I'll pass them and we go on our way. But around here it is apparently a little bit different. Or I'm just having that experience today. Another lake. I think it's another lake. I don't think it's the same one. It could be. It's pretty high. That one looks to me like it's almost about as high as it can get. Maybe a little bit more, but you can see all those trees that were submerged. Maybe you couldn't see that, but I could see out, maybe off your field of view, several trees that were submerged, and I'm not sure what the elevation is around here, but I'm going to guess we're probably somewhere around 7,000 feet. No, not trucks turning on the highway. Right. Here we go with the stupid work zones. Here's my issue. Even with this one, it doesn't look like it's completely a mile, but yeah, look how far apart everything is spaced here. It doesn't have to be that way. Vehicles do have brakes. I wonder if the bureaucrats at CDOT understand that vehicles actually have these things called brakes. This is the fines doubled because off of the road. Really? At least I don't have to go another mile before I can get out of the speed area, but that's ridiculous. Apparently, Colorado is going the way of California when it comes to traffic and the rules that are applied to the roadways, and I say it constantly. You don't hear how many times I say it because probably 9/10 of the things I record and talk about I don't actually put out on YouTube. So I say this stuff a lot. That is that I do believe that the Colorado CDOT has got some woke going on, and it's not doing anyone any good. It's not doing the drivers of our state any good. It's not doing businesses any good. It's not doing employees trying to get to work any good. It's not doing truckers trying to move products any good. It's fucking everything up. And CDOT seems to like it. The bureaucrats in CDOT. There are a lot of good people that work for CDOT. And I certainly don't mean any ill towards them, unless they're leftists and they're for this bullshit. No, there's a certain level of safety, and then there's too much of a good thing is a bad thing, no matter what, and that includes safety. But you can tell a woke construction company for sure, by the amount of ridiculous overreaching kinds of safety practices that they have. That's woke. That's not safety. That is a company being strangled from the inside. Probably starts at HR, and it ends up in their safety department. So All right, I want to, I'm going to back this back just a little bit. We are getting ready to enter this canyon. We actually don't enter the canyon. We basically are on the northern, yeah, we'll call it the northern rim of the canyon. But it is kind of neat that we're dropping down this low before we get in here. When we get off of this road, we will be dumped back onto Highway 50. We'll drive over the dam, the Blue Mesa Dam, and that is a reservoir that is in a really deep gorge. When I was a little kid, I mentioned that we lived in Montrose, we lived in Olathe, and we lived in Gunnison. So we're familiar with this area. Before Blue Mesa was filled up, we were traveling to Denver, and we came over that area on Highway 50, and there were some areas where you could look down, and it was a steep canyon that was being filled by Blue Mesa Reservoir. I still remember that. That was some scary stuff. Very neat, but scary. There you go. There's a shot of it. I think you probably got a good view of that. Better than me, maybe. Now we're up in the oak brush, so I think we're probably around 7, or maybe above 7, between 7 and 8,000 feet. That's typically where oak brush hangs out, where it lives. We're not up in the aspens, but we are up in the, there's some pines up there. They're not spruce, they're more of a, like a desert, high desert looking type of a pine. You can see those mixed in with cedars. I don't know what they are. They're pretty. Well, interesting, maybe this is a side canyon that we're going down. Maybe not the main canyon. Yes, it does look like we're in a side canyon, because that's the main canyon, I believe, over there. And this is certainly big country. Oh yeah, that's steep. You can't probably see, but that's steep. Go ahead and get my windshield again. This has been a pretty busy week for me, actually a few weeks. This is not my typical routine. Usually when I'm in this area, I'm up here for recreation, or I'm traveling through, well, again, for recreation. I like this area. Beautiful place. But I'm here doing a job today, so. helping someone out who is indisposed right now. And yeah. That's an interesting truck bed. Kind of a cage of some kind. This guy has had 3 opportunities to pull off and let me get around him, and he has not taken advantage of it. I don't think he gives a shit. However, asshole. Yeah, so if you do that to me, I'm going to call you an asshole. If I do that to you, please call me an asshole. But I'll try not to do that to you. If you're going faster than me, and I can pull over, and I understand, and it's not a, not a dangerous thing to do it, I'll pull over. I'll let you go. That guy had 3 opportunities to pull over. And he didn't do any. I mean, really? I don't quite understand people like that. So here we go. That sign says rumble strips ahead. There we go. There we go. There's a lot of them up here. Granted, these are tight corners, but again, that theory. And why are there rumble strips leaving the corner? I mean, that's kind of a weird thing. I don't get this. I don't understand the philosophy behind that. Have so many people crashed off this road they fall asleep or something? It is a long road, but it's a real pretty road. Are they busy looking? Now, I could somewhat maybe understand that. Like you're busy looking, trying to look through the trees to see the canyon or to look at the mountains or, there's a lot of things to look at here. It's a really pretty road. As we grow up, we meet the world the way the world is, and a lot of things we see in the world when we're young. By the way, check that view out. That nice? Yeah, that is the mountains south of here. Those are the mountains down, well, the Uray and the Telluride area. That's the north part of that area. Anyway, to get back to that, we meet this world, I guess, for the first time as we grow up, and we accept a lot of things. A good, for instance, of accepting something, as when I was a kid, gas was like 30 cents a gallon when I was a kid, a little kid, in that area. And now gas is $4 a gallon right now because we have a corrupt bureaucracy pushing gas prices. So the kids that are born, that are little kids like I was, to them that's just regular, it's normal. So we see these things, and as we grow up, some of the things that we took as matter of fact, we look back and we go, well, that was weird that and that depends on a person. But I've noticed there are several things that I look back and I think, wow, that was very strange. Now, in a way, my feeling about the way the safety stuff with highways is right now, it's kind of a reverse of that. Because when I was a kid, when there was road work, there may have been a sign that said road work, and then there were people working on the road, and you would just swerve around them. And as far as I know, there were very few accidents. I don't recall ever hearing anywhere of a surge of accidents by road workers, and that we had to enact all these ridiculous laws that we have in place in Colorado now to save people. I don't recall ever hearing anything about that. Occasionally, construction workers would get hurt on the job, but I have no idea how many construction workers were hurt by a vehicle going by or by the work that they were doing. Or for that matter, a construction worker creating a dangerous situation for a passenger, or for a passenger car, or someone driving by. But I've never heard there was a big scourge of accidents that we're losing highway workers left and right. We can't keep them because they keep getting killed on the side of the roads. I've never heard anything like that. Yet, that's how this bureaucracy is working right now. It's like that. And in the overblown safety, too much of a good thing is a bad thing philosophy, it's not untrue. So that's how I see this. I mean, I saw how it was when I was a kid with no big deal at all. People could do pretty good making it from point A to point B, working around road construction. Road construction exists where roads exist. So this ridiculous the ridiculous rules that Colorado has put in place, I mean, they're simply ridiculous. I go to Wyoming, and Wyoming is a lot like it was in the 70s or the 80s, on the state roads anyway. There might be a road construction sign, and they might put some pylons out if need be. That's probably a pretty steep hill over there. And people do just fine. In fact, I was going through the other day, going up to the Snowy Range Road, and there had been some flooding, and Wyoming, the road crews were out mitigating the flooding, and there was a sign that said road construction, and people just slowed down and went around. There wasn't a speed limit decrease, but people did decrease their speed. And people did go into another lane, but there were no pylons that were directing people into the other lane. It's just that's where we were going. Because it's not hard to figure out sometimes where to go. Yes, that's a big gripe. Now, it's a really big gripe for me because I drive through this every day. Well, when I'm driving, I have to put up with it. Or I have to try to avoid it. And I will. I'll go out of my way. Case in point. To avoid it. Oh, we got a good view here. Not really. Okay. It's an excellent view this way. Love it. Man, that canyon is deep. There's also a dam here in the middle of the canyon. There's two dams that I know of. One of them is down below us, I guess. I just took a quick glance down there, but I am making sure that I keep my attention on the road, because although I might be talking disparagingly about the over safety of CDOT, I still have a healthy desire to be safe and to keep these tires on this tarmac at all times, unless I intentionally drive off the road to a parking area. And there are places where you could drive off this road and the parking area might be over 1,000 feet below the area that you drove off the road, with air or rocks or trees or boulders or dirt in between that you could bounce off of and roll down. So this is certainly an impressive canyon and an impressive road. And you are getting the best view that I can give you, and it's a pretty good view. Well, I will. And what's really cool is that over to my left is a bunch of river rock. The river was up here a long time, and that's basically a shelf. You could call it a shelf, an area where you would find a shelf placer if there's gold around here. I don't know if there's gold in this particular area or not. I mean, there could be. There are probably trace amounts of gold around here. But here we are at the rim, the very top of it. You know, when the river was just right here. And it made that river, those benches of river gravel and sand. Yeah, there you can see some of it. Sort of a mix. It's like that wasn't. Yeah, that's more. Looks to me like probably bulldozed out rock. That was angular rock. It wasn't river washed rock. But you may have seen that anyway. I think across the valley there were some objects that were reflecting sun. Yeah, it's right ahead of us, probably a couple miles away. I believe that's on the other side of the dam. I believe that is. We'll find out. When I'm done in Gunnison, by the way, I'm done. I'll head back to Craig, and my plan is to go through Crested Butte. I'll probably go ahead and run the camera for that, and then go over Kebler Pass, which is a county road, a dirt road, I'm pretty sure. That will take me up above. It will take me back to Highway 133, that we were on before. We turned off of that. Then it will take me to 133 above the area where that sinkhole is. And I should be able to go over another pass. Can't think of the name of it right now, but it will take us down into Marble. Sort of, I think we're on the west side of Aspen at that point, roughly. And we'll drive up a valley. From there, we drop down into the bottom of a valley, and then we'll drive up through Carbondale and go into Glenwood. I hope. I've got conflicting information about that road. I looked at the CDOT website, and as of sometime in May, they were showing that road closed. But Google Maps show that road open, and it should be open because it is June 7th. They should have opened it the end of May. So I'm not sure what we've got. I might have to double back and come back this way. But if I have to double back, I'll probably go around and go to the east and go through Buena Vista. I don't want to do that. That's a long drive, but there's no way of getting around it. It's a long drive home from Gunnison, even if I don't have an issue going over the pass up here. Kebler Pass, I believe it is what it's called. More rumble strips. Yeah, why are the rumble strips on the uphill side also? I mean, is the idea is to alert you to a sharp corner, which, like I said, if people are looking at the scenery, I can somewhat understand. I still think it's overkill, but having rumble strips on the uphill side, you've passed the area of danger, and now you have to drive over more rumble strips. Maybe their machine is just gigantic. Well, I'll bet that machine is not 2 lanes worth of a 2 lanes of a width of a machine. I'll bet that is a 1 lane width machine. Yeah. What else is going on? So I'm working with my little brass project still. I picked up a little bit more brass. I'm happy to say I was able to get another several pounds, for about $2 a pound. I'm happy about that. I also, to make this project realistic, I had to find a new supplier, or a supplier period, of the kind of tubing that I'm using, and I could not find any in the States. I found a company in Canada that was willing to sell me some, but they wanted to put it on a spool that I didn't need and charge me an extra $250 for the spool. So I ended up making a deal with a company in China, which is probably where most of this stuff comes from to begin with, sadly. That's probably where it comes from nowadays. They wanted to charge me $250 for a spool. I will say this, you can deal with the people in China. They have a pretty damn good profit margin, and they do try to get what they can. So if you don't quibble about the price with your Chinese supplier, they'll charge you as much as they can charge you. I mean, I understand that. So I make it a point to quibble with their price, and I did. And when you do that, you almost have to walk away from the deal, or you really actually have to walk away from the deal. You just say, no, that's too high. Oh, thanks anyway, or whatever. Whatever your style of bargaining is. Yeah, that's steep, guys. I kind of want to be over into, get out of this lane. I mean, that's got me just a little bit nervous. Where's a rumble strip when you need one? I need a rumble strip now. Calm my nerves. Anyway, so I waited a week, and the supplier contacted me again, and I contacted him, and we were able to work out a better price, which was good. So the project's going along pretty well, I guess. The steam generator is built and working good. I know I call it a brass project, but it's actually a steam project. And I'm building a little, just for a test rig, a steam engine, a single acting steam engine, which I could convert to a double acting steam engine if I want to, if I need to. I don't think I will. The reason that I'm building a steam engine is so that I can test the system. I can see firsthand what kind of power it will put out, and I can also, I got to get a little more equipment together to do this, but I'll be able to accurately gauge the energy input and accurately gauge the energy output and understand what kind of efficiencies that I'm working with. Now, I'm not expecting a high efficiency for an old-fashioned type of a steam engine, but it puts me in a ballpark. Yeah, this rock, all that big, cool rock, that's some more of that bench river rock, bit left high and dry. I'm sure you saw that. Great big chunks of river rock sticking out of that cliff. And so to that end, I built the cylinder, and I decided to make my cylinder 1 cubic inch as far as across the area, the square inches area. I wanted to make it 1 cubic inch because that's a nice basic number to start with. Now it's going to be a 3-dimensional number because I'll be compressing steam will be expanding, which will push the piston down the bore, so it will be bigger than a 1 cubic inch engine, if you get what I'm saying. So it's a 1 cubic inch cross section, but it will be probably a 2.5 cubic inch engine, because I believe that the stroke is about 2.5 inches. So I've got the piston made, piston rings made, and I'm working on the connecting rod. I've got half of it done, but I need to finish the connecting rod. And then I also have looks to be an old metal caster, a really, really big caster that was on some gigantically heavy piece of machinery, probably 8 inches in diameter. This a big metal wheel with spokes on it. It will make a really good flywheel, and that will be nice to have, especially for a single acting engine. You kind of need to have something to get that piston all the way around, especially when you're starting it. And not only that, but it's a really good way to maintain a smoother RPM with a steam engine And also you're storing energy into a flywheel. So it pads the ability of that engine when it hits a heavy load. It won't immediately stop it. It has the kinetic energy of a flywheel that will power it through and smooth that out. Any moments that could otherwise stop it if it were, just a piston and a crankshaft. Oh yeah, when they were building Blue Mesa reservoir, we lived in Gunnison, and my dad worked for the phone company, and they had to move the phone lines, which I guess were down lower. Maybe there was a shelf road at the time. I don't remember the complete road. I just remember the high sections of the road. They were pretty scary. But him and, the people who worked there in Gunnison, the phone company, were going up on top, up here, and they were having to blast in several areas through rock to set, phone line, to set new poles, to put to move the phone cable at the time. So that was a pretty cool job. And he talked about it a little bit. They used a lot of explosives. And the story I remember was he said that one day for some reason they wanted to see what would happen, but they set off a stick of dynamite just in a pile of snow. I mean, it was setting on the snow. It was basically in the open air. And he said that was horribly loud. Much louder than he thought it would. I mean, just a huge explosion. I guess it does make sense. If the dynamite, the explosive that you're using, whatever it is down 3 or 4 feet in a hole that's been tamped with clay so that the explosive energy moves the rock, by the time the shock wave gets out to the open air, it may be going a lot slower. And there may not be a boom at all. It might just be a thump. So, I've passed a couple of observation points up, but I really do have to get to where I'm going today. And I have a feeling that if I turn out to the observation point, then I have to park and unhook the camera from the mount, which is actually quite an ordeal, and walk it out and take a photograph, which really the thing that would be great to do would just be to have another little handy cam for that reason. And just grab it, walk out, and take a picture. But I'm probably not going to do that. These little handy cams cost quite a bit. They're great. But the income that I'm getting from this channel is zero. I'm getting the satisfaction of knowing that the people that have subscribed like my videos and put up with my political commentary and other commentary. And I appreciate that. I like sharing that. I do think it's important also to have your opinion heard in our society, in our democracy. That's how it is supposed to work. And we know that freedom of speech is under attack everywhere. When people start talking about dangerous speech, you know that we have an issue. Dangerous speech. Dangerous. I think Tony Heller, if you don't know who Tony Heller is, search Tony Heller on YouTube. He busts the myths and the lies about the climate hoax with the facts. And he does that, and he also does other things. One of the videos that he put out was of mainstream media, TV announcers, talking about the dangers of what is a term that they use? Misinformation and disinformation. And so he started out with one newsreader talking about it, and then he added another newsreader saying the same exact thing. By the time he was done, he had 50, maybe 100, I don't know, newsreaders saying exactly the same thing, because this was something, propaganda from the media, disseminated to the mainstream media. And the little lapdogs that those people are nowadays, they grab that propaganda up, lap it up, and regurgitate it. And that was an awesome example of that. I've seen that before. Other people have done that to point out exactly what I just said, that the mainstream media are little lapdogs for the leftist people, the leftist powers that are working 24/7 to take this country down. And we know the typical characters that want to see the United States weak: the European Union, the globalists, and the CCP. Those are really the big players that want to see a weak United States. They want to see us be a socialist country. They want to see us be communist, like China. That's what they're pushing for. So we know that. But that's where that comes from. Those are the people that give the media their marching orders, and give the useful idiots their marching orders, and all the rest of the corrupt bureaucracy and the corrupt activist groups and so forth and so on. That's where it all comes from. We know this. Now, a few minutes ago, I believe we saw the dam, or maybe it was a different lookout, but I think it was the dam, maybe a couple of miles away. And we've traveled about 7 miles since then. But we're coming I think we have about 2 miles left. To get to the dam and the parking lot. And there's Highway 50 just over on the other side of the canyon right now. Well, those bugs don't want to come off, so. Oh, I didn't finish my thought. There's a dam downstream from here that I believe is a hydro station also. This is a hydro station too. But I think that the dam downstream, I think that there is a pipe that runs from that dam to the little town, well, I guess it's a town, of Cimarron. Because there used to be a hydro station there. And I think there still is, but maybe not. The last time I drove through there, I didn't see it, but I was also paying attention to the road. But as a kid, I am almost certain that that's what happened. That's what had happened there. Yeah, I was going to drive out on that, but actually you can't really see too much. This is the dam. You know, you guys can look down there if you can see down there, but it's a ways down there. Very pretty day today. Okay. So, the major road work bypassed, and we are now at Blue Mesa reservoir. You haven't gotten a good view of it yet, but you'll get a reasonably good view of it as we curve around here. It's filling up pretty good. It was, to my best guess, it was maybe 10 feet lower last week. Maybe not quite that. It seemed to me like it was roughly, you know, just looking at, looked like about 20 feet low from its high point, you know. It's a little higher, but I think there's still quite a bit of room. I believe that they're probably making sure that they have room in here so that they don't end up with too much water coming in where they can't, you know, control the flow well. I'm sure there's emergency spillways and whatever on a dam like that. It's such a pretty day. Let's make it all the way into Gunnison today. Oh yeah, just gorgeous up here. I'm not sure how high these mountains are, but I think they're 12 or 13. That seems right. But there could be some 14ers up here. I'm not sure. Really, we need all of this in Colorado. I mean, notice the utter amount of bullshit that they've got on the road here. For this construction area, which isn't even on the highway. This is CDOT gone crazy. If this is fucking ridiculous. Oh, the shoulder is closed. Oh no. Yes, we must go 40 miles an hour here. Put up with rumble strips. Put up with, I don't think it was a mile before. Probably a half mile before. Because they're working off the side of the road. Tell me how this makes sense. Anyway. And keep in mind, fines doubled, right? It's that important that you go that speed, or people will die, and you'll get fined double. Yeah, it's ridiculous, ridiculous. I mean, who controls CDOT? Doesn't the state, don't we, as citizens of this state, control CDOT? Shouldn't we be able to make our opinion known to CDOT that this is stupid and over-the-top bullshit, and it's just making travel, it's making travel, at the very least, very annoying, for no good reason. For no increased return in safety. Not only that, it's another fines doubled area that could be used in a, I don't want to say illegal, but I would assume in a very advantageous sort of way for the state to put more money in their accounts. It's ridiculous. Well, you know, maybe it has gone up about that much. That looks like about... I'm trying to determine. I can't really tell. I don't quite... Well, it does. It has increased. The water level has increased. But that's no big deal. I mean, there's a bunch of water around here. It's probably... I'm assuming it's easier to overfill this time of year with all the snow that is still up in the high country. It's quite a lake. It really is. Quite a reservoir. Our power supply is doing good. Oh, the speed limit is 65 here. Okay. I didn't know whether we were still in a double fines construction zone, 40-mile-an-hour speed limit, or what. Okay. I'm liking that less and less. Okay. Interesting little camper community down there. I believe that the mountains on the horizon are the west side of the Collegiate Range. believe that's right. If we kept, we may have to. I may have to. May have to go around Buena Vista. I hope not. I hope I can make it through Keppel Pass